Today it's good. All right. So everybody, so that was pretty easy, right? Especially for the new people, right? It's just 5 basic points, right? It's the eyebrow, and you've got one on either side. You can tap on one, both the other, left hand, right hand, doesn't matter. You've got the side of the eye, you've got underneath the eye, you've got the collarbone. I know Flavia showed you two how to do it, so you should know. And then, of course, you've got the wrist. And the reason for the wrist is because there's several points in the hand that actually run up and down the arm. And as you squeeze the wrist, it's a shortcut to all those points in the hand. Now, the reason that we originally picked these, Robert Smith actually originally picked these 5 points, is because they actually correspond to the organs in the body that produce those chemicals, the adrenaline, the cortisol, the all those chemicals that produce the stress, right? And so the idea is that as you tap on the meridians, again, you are sending that signal to the body to relax the body. So what Jonah was talking about is really, we were talking about earlier, how to effectively work on yourself. Number one, the deal is, as I mentioned earlier, is just tap in the heat of the moment. Recognize when you are feeling bad. And I don't know about you guys, but I was king of just sort of accepting those feelings before I found tapping. I just thought, well, I feel like shit because my life is shit. Because I'm not good enough, because I'm this, I'm that. I accepted those feelings as proof that my life sucked at that time, whatever it was, right? Whatever was going on. So here's the biggest thing, again, you can realize is that your life is not what you're feeling. Your feelings are just what you're thinking, and you can change your thinking. You can change your response to your thinking. And as you change that response, how you hold it inside begins to change. Fundamental and so empowering when you think about it, right? I mean, when you think about it, that you actually have control. So whatever you're getting in your life, you've actually got a way to change that with something as simple as this. Right? So the first thing, again, number one is recognize when you're feeling bad, when you're feeling down. Number two is do something different. Before I had tapping and I started figuring this out, I would do things like I would just break my trance in different ways. I remember specifically I was driving down the road to my office where I had a business and something, it's like a whole nother lifetime ago. But I was driving to my office and I remember just feeling that familiar feeling of, oh God, here I go again, right? Oh, another day of trying to sell things to people, It's just like this dread that fell over me. And I had been figuring this whole thing out about, checking in with your feelings. And so I recognized it for the first time. I recognized that I was doing it to myself. I was going into that trance, right? And so I immediately said, okay, think of something different. And I looked around and I thought, whoa, what do you know? The sun is shining. It's a beautiful freaking day. Another one in LA, right? A beautiful day. I remember, in fact, I can see it very clearly to this day. The road was freshly paved. It was the 90 freeway going down into Fox Hills area. And they had just paved the road or something. It was just nice, black, clean freeway. The trees on the side of the road, I noticed for the first time. The sky was blue, and it totally broke that trance that I was in. And so tapping is one of the ways that you can do this. Tapping is one of the ways that you can break this trance when you notice it. But again, it's noticing it is the key to making the changes. Noticing how you know, as Jonah said. And you can do anything. You can tap. You can do this tapping process. Now, we use tapping because it just seems to work really, really well. And I think it works really, really well because of that mind-body connection, right? The meridian connection, the sending the signals and all that good stuff. I knew this was going to happen. Chalk. And so the tapping, we use the tapping because it works very, very well. And I mentioned the whole fractionation process before, right? How we go into our problems. We are, with tapping or with anything else, whether you're changing your focus or doing anything else, we are defractionating you from your problem. We're pulling you out of that trance. Tapping works very, very well for this. But again, you can do a lot of different stuff. You can stand up. NLP is really big in changing your state, right? So again, the mind body work together. So if you notice you're feeling this feeling, notice your posture. Notice what you're doing. Notice how you're breathing. Oftentimes, and this is why we use breathing and tapping and why breathing is so important, because oftentimes when you're in that funk, when you're in that fight or flight, when you're in that recoiled response, you're not even breathing, right? Your breath is usually shallow and light. And of course, your breathing affects your body. And so this is one of the reasons why we incorporate breath into the tapping process. Very, very important. In fact, the simple act of breathing can often be enough to relax the body and change how you're doing it inside, change how you represent the problem, defractionating your hypnotic trance. Now, you can do other things. You can, again, the state change, NLP says if you're feeling down, change your state. Stand taller. Put your shoulders back. Breathe more deeply. Put a smile on your face. If you put a smile on your face, you find it very, very difficult to feel those negative feelings. And this is all breaking the trance. Does that make sense? So tapping, state change, going for a jog. Of course, you got to be careful. Sometimes exercise can be an escape from your pain. A lot of people that love to work out 8 hours a day, you have to start to wonder. But just be aware of that. So 80%, if not 90% of this is recognizing when you're doing it to you. So then we want to ask, okay, so I know I've got this problem. I want to change it. Maybe there's multi-layers to it. Maybe there's a lot of different ways that I've proved to myself over the years that I have this problem. So how do we begin to address it? How do we take it a little bit deeper? How do we decode it? And I'm just going to do a very quick outline of what we call the art of change. All right. On the very basic level, Jonah mentioned it before. The very first thing you can ask yourself is, how do I know I have a problem? Right? How do I know? So you look at the feelings. You look at the emotions, the memories. Inside the memories, you have pictures, you have sensations, you have sounds, as Jonah covered all of that. But this is how you know you have the problem. And so what you look at is, first thing is address your problem. What is my problem? How do I know I have a problem? Well, I am in a bad relationship. I don't like my relationship. And so what I don't want, what is going on in your life? How do you know you have a problem? It's my relationship. Okay? So then you start listing all of the ways you know you don't have a good relationship, all the things you don't like about that relationship. You write down all the relationships in your past. We talked about creating that list. You can create a list of all the proof that you have this current problem. Does that make sense? So if it was a relationship, you would say, okay, well, I don't, I'm not happy in this current relationship, or maybe I don't have a relationship. And then you would say, well, what's all my past experiences? What are my past experiences with relationships? And you can go all the way down back to the ultimate relationship, right? Which is what? The people that raised you, that brought you into this world, right? Parents, we see this in session all the time, is that, our first experiences were with the people that brought us into this world, right? And we formed a lot of those beliefs that Jonah was talking about from those first experiences. And so going back to the parents can be very, very powerful, whether you're talking about relationships or beliefs about yourself or any of that stuff. So write this list. Make a list of all of the things that are related to your current problem as best you can. As best you can. All right, so you've got this list of all these things you don't want, and you apply this tapping process. You apply the process. You go to this one right here and you say, okay, can I make this bother me? You think about it. Yep, I can feel it. It's there. Notice what you're doing in your mind, and then just use this tapping process. And here's what you got to say. Get your notepads out. This is a very complicated script. You ready? Let it go. Let it go. Let it go. Let it go. All right? Deep breath, as Jonah said, deep breath. Very important. Breathe it out. Peace. Now, it's very important to also, in addition to having this list, which we will call your peace list, the flip side of that would be your happy journal. All right? What's the happy journal? The happy journal is a list and a collection of good stuff. You know, the good things in your life. And it could be, you know, that hike you went on with a friend. It could be, you know, the way your cat purrs when you pet it. It could be the time you went for coffee with an old friend. It could be anything. You know, people always I find that people get hung up a lot in finding their purpose. You know, finding their purpose. What's my purpose? You know, I feel lost. I feel like I don't know what direction I should be going in, which to me translates to I'm not living to my full potential, or I'm not doing something I know I should be doing based on my beliefs, which are a bunch of BS, right? Our beliefs are BS. Our beliefs are whatever we want them to be. You're learning how to change them and create new beliefs. But people say that. They say, I don't know, I've got this, you know, I feel like I need to know my purpose. And I say, well, cut out all the BS and just make it simple. You know, I believe that our purpose is just to live. It's to create experiences. You sitting in this room right now are creating this experience. You're here, you're showing up, you're listening, you're learning, you're expanding your mind. I believe that's all we're here to do, is just increase our awareness, increase our awareness of who we are and what we're doing, learning things. And again, even if you're just going to coffee with a friend, you're creating that experience. You know, maybe you want to write a book, maybe you want to you know, start a Facebook page, maybe you want to, it doesn't, you know, anything, all of these things. And of course, there's different levels. Some people take it to a whole nother level. And guess what? They don't go from here to here. They go like this. And they create things, and they create things, and they create things until all of a sudden they have this belief that they can do whatever they want. Right? So you start where you're at and just create. And as you do, your belief systems will change. And as you begin, what we're sharing with you here, and what all of you know about, but again, our goal is for you to begin using it more and more. What you have here with this tool is a way to actually speed up this process. It's a way to begin stepping through your fears, your doubts, your worries, right? Stepping through those things, using this, because all those things are based on what? They're based on past references that don't even exist anymore. That's just how you hold on to them. You can clean that up, change how you represent those, and using that strategy, begin to step through and do whatever you want. So the idea here is you look at all of these things on your list, you address each one by one, and tap on it until you can, either it's neutral or it creates a flip. Remember we talked about the flip. The flip is, all right, so you've got a memory, and the memory is mom spanking you, right? You go back to that memory, you can feel it. You can almost feel it on your butt. You know, you can see the look on her face as you go back there, and you can feel that feeling. Okay, you got it, good. Tap, let it go, let it go, let it go. Repeat that process until it no longer bothers you. Once you get to that point, you can either flip it on your own, which becomes a lot easier once you remove the emotion from it, right? In other words, memories are permeable. They're not real, right? We've established that. They're metaphoric expressions. So the magical thing is once you take the emotion out of the metaphoric expression, it becomes more permeable. You can change it a little more easily. So as you do that, experiment with it. In fact, if you all take a deep breath now and close your eyes, and I want you to go to a memory with a person. Could be anything. Could be, maybe it was a school teacher, a boss, maybe a spouse, but one that kind of bothers you a little bit. Nothing real big, just something that bothers you. You got it? All right, now I want you to imagine that they've got bunny ears on their head. Good job. And maybe a clown nose. Good job. And maybe a little cottontail too. And you know those nerdy glasses with tape put those on them too, just for good measure. Good. Take a deep breath. Blow it out. Peace. Now, how many noticed your physical reaction to that memory changed just by doing that? Everybody, right? Yeah, exactly. How could it not? Who did that? Did I do that? No, you did it. And so this is what we're talking about. This is the power of your mind. It's permeable. You can change it. And so what you all just did was flip that memory without even tapping. Does that make sense? So this is the goal. Again, you take each of these memories one by one, tap it down, remove the emotion, flip it until it becomes something happy. And you can put that now in your happy journal. Okay? Put smiles on their face. Hug them. Any way you can, make peace with that memory. And so we're essentially what you're doing, in other words, let's say, okay, so the memory, the mom spanking you. You tap it down, it no longer has the emotional power, and then you imagine, okay, well, was there ever a time that my mom and I had a good moment together? And you, oh yeah, of course. And you go to that memory, and you feel that love. You feel that mother, son bond or mother-daughter bond. And you make that stronger. And in essence, you replace that old memory of the spanking with this beautiful memory of love. Does that make sense? So you're flipping it, and you're re-imprinting that memory. And you're making that one stronger and the bad one weaker. In essence, vanishing it, right? Changing it, flipping it. So what we're doing is we're changing what we don't want and moving it over here to what we do want. Right? And as we flip each memory, we put it over here. Now sometimes you might say, okay, well, I'm in this crappy relationship, I don't want it. Okay, you tap it down. Relationships are interesting because again, it's our interpretation of the relationship. And so you really take a look at, all right, say you're in a bad relationship, you say, okay, what are all the things I hate about this person? Let's just say as an example, right? And you tap on all that stuff. Tap on all the things that you don't like about that person, because who's really feeling all that stuff? Right? You are. And in fact, it's your interpretation of that person. And we will tell you, Jonah, I've experienced this so many times, that when you tap on the stuff that you hate about that person, guess what happens? That person begins to change. Go figure. Right? Over and over. I mean, Robert tells this story all the time about how he had a married couple that came in, and she came in and she was like, I hate him, I hate him, I hate him. He said, okay, just write down all the stuff that you hate about him. And she said, okay, but make sure you work on him too. I said, yep, he's scheduled, he'll be in right after you. And so, he worked on her and worked on all the stuff that she hated about him. And when it was said and done, she was like, well, I don't know what you did. I mean, all we did was work on him, And he said, well, that's okay. I'll be seeing him in just a moment. So she left. He never came in. He never showed up. A week later, she came back for her second session. Guess what she said? I don't know what you did, but he completely changed, right? What did he do? He worked on her feelings, how she interpreted it, how she represented that relationship. Very, very powerful. So whatever the issue is, you tap until you realize, what is it that you do want? So many times our clients come in, and if you just straight away ask them, what do you want? They say, and they list all this stuff. All the stuff they don't want. Where's their energy going? Where's their attention going? Right? So that's really the key, is where we want to move it into this column. When you begin tapping the emotion down, it becomes easier to move it into this column. Make sense? All right, now if you want to get even more thorough on this, you've got your wants, right? You've got your new desires, your new wants. Then you got to do like what we call an NLP. It's sort of an ecology check. You say, well, is it safe? Is it okay? And we run into this a lot, resistance. You're like, wait a minute, who am I going to be if I don't have this anger, if I don't have this hatred, right? What am I going to have to do? You get this a lot with a basic example is like with public speaking. you know, you start working on it, all of a sudden people are like, whoa, I don't, you know, the anxiety's leaving, you know, the stress is leaving. Then all of a sudden they go, whoa, wait a minute, this means I'm going to actually have to talk in public, you know? And so there's a bit of resistance, and so they might get kind of squirmy, and so what do? You tap on the resistance. And again, how do you know? I mean, this work is so much about the resistance. It's really what we're looking for. Most of the time when we're working with clients is, where are they resisting? Where is the emotion? Where is the attention and focus going to? And as we address that, then it becomes safe to move into these wants. And then of course what we do is just move forward in time, and we pace forward into the future. We pace forward into the future. So we say, okay, imagine a time in the future. Imagine a time in a year from now, 3 years from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now. Is it still safe? And you future pace it. And this is it's a very good hypnotic process, and it's something that we don't do. Usually when we're trapped in our problems and we're trapped in our, you know, we're on this phase, we're just thinking, it's like right here. You know, I mentioned the whole fight or flight reflex and the stress response. When you're in this phase here and you're in that stress mode, it's like, you know, I mentioned how all hands on deck are going to the body, and so the intelligence actually goes down. When you're in this mode, it's like you're looking through a peephole. You know, it's like you've got the, what do they call those things? Blinders on. You've got the blinders on. And so when you tap and you relax the body, you're expanding your awareness. You're opening up your vision. You're getting that inspiration back. You're getting your focus back. That makes sense? You're allowing your brain, your higher functioning power, to actually work. And so you're able to channel into that stuff. You know, I mean, how many of you have ever gotten that, you know, that sort of download? It seems like it's a download from the universe, you know, or that inspiration, or awesome, very good.
I really felt that lightness, that openness, and the clarity of mind. It's a little weird, but
yeah, it can be different, right? Especially if you're in, so you felt lightness, you felt expansion, and that can be really different. And this was after your first session, right? Which was a crossfire session, right? 2 practitioners on 1. And it can be different because we've been locked up in this fight or flight for so long. And so this is sort of a basic, you can think of this as a flow chart using the art of change. And again, we have specific questions that we ask ourselves. You know, how do we know? If it's a pain, where is it located? When was the first time it happened? When did you first notice it? Is there a shape? Is there a color? You know, you can ask yourself, when was the first time it happened? Has it ever happened before? You know, what are all the examples of it in my life? Go back as far as you can and drill down and ask yourself these powerful questions, and just begin addressing every one of these things. Now, if you end up going to see a practitioner, of course, you can bring this list into a practitioner and have them address it. Because here's what happens. You know, I really believe there's different phases to this work. All are equally important. The first phase is working on yourself. It's very, very important to begin to, again, recognize when you are feeling those feelings, and then ask yourself, how do I know? What am I doing? What am I thinking about? And then just doing something different, tapping, addressing it. The second is to basically see a practitioner. You know, and our goal, you know, Joan and I, this is a career path that we are taking, but you know, there are models of therapy where you know, you're expected to go back week after week after week after week. Our goal is always to empower you. You know, I tell my clients, look, I will see you as often as we need to resolve this issue, but always I'm going to be spending time coaching you on how to take this with you so that you can work on yourself between the times we get together. And a typical model is they'll come and see me for 3 to 6 sessions, and they'll spend some time, and then they'll come back to see me when, you know, something new comes up. Because here's the deal, guys, life is continuing to happen. Life is an ongoing process. We're learning, we're growing, and even as we heal, as we create that new space, and I just experienced this myself, You create this space, and all of a sudden you're like, huh. You know, it's like, wow, everything's great, everything's cool. I think I want to go do this. And you decide that, you know, you're going to try something new. You're going to try a new experience. You're going to take it to the next level. And as you do, guess what happens? Old belief systems, you know, start popping into your mind. And guess what? It's actually a blessing, because it's showing you exactly what you need to heal to become the person that you want to become the person that's going to step into that vision that you have for yourself. That vision is so important. People get so wrapped up in this, and they get so clenched up that they don't even think about what it is they want, let alone what they want their future to look like. And so if you can begin to look at your future in a way that makes you feel good, that's the key. Look into the future. How will it look a year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now? Does it feel good? If not, guess what you do? You go back and tap. Tap until you can see what you want, see the future, and feel good about it. Because it's those good feelings that are going to propel you into action. Your brain is so freaking powerful, man. I'm telling you right now. Sometimes I stop and I look around and I go, how the f did I get here? You know? Because what's going on is you clean this stuff up, and what you want, your brain just kicks you into gear. It's your subconscious mind. Remember, Jonah was talking about all those images, all those imprints in your mind, right? That's what guides your behavior. And when you change them and make them positive, that area of your life will begin to change. You'll begin to do things on an unconscious level, on a subconscious level, and you'll begin taking action, and it will feel much, much more, I mean, it feels effortless. I mean, you know, it's like in the moment, you're doing something, you're actually engaged, you're working, but when you're done with it, you're like, whoa, that was kind of easy, you know, because you're in alignment with what you want and you're cleaning all that stuff up. Does that make sense?